Welcome, Marina and Monica. Thanks for talking to some of our classes today. And class, I'd like to introduce you to Marina Johnson, who is the founder and CEO of Most Programming, and Monica Stitt, who is just leaving her position as COO of the Colorado Technology Association, and is currently both consulting and a member of the Elevations Credit Union board. So today, if you guys would talk to us, you guys, I say, ladies, talk to us about your careers. We're really interested in understanding how your career has progressed, and how your education with Regis has helped. And if you want to start by talking um, a little bit about what you studied at Regis, that would be helpful. And we can start with you, Marina, please.
Okay. Hello, everybody. So I get my master degree in computer science. I think it was 2002 or three, something like that. And before I was director of IT in different company, and I came to a new company and I finished my education and get my master's degree. And I think the it's not necessary what career path it gave to me. Most important, I think, you learning how to work with other people, you learn how to do research. It's give me foundation for the career and my life, basically. I do a lot of research than before. I learning how to use to learn something new that you didn't know before. So, and after I get, no, but nevertheless, I still get career movement. So I was director of IT on a company, 4,000 people company, security company called HSS. And after getting my degree in computer science, I was promoted to chief information officer and was chief information officer for 15 years after that. Monica?
Very cool. Okay, great. Thanks, Marina. And thank you for this opportunity to chat with everyone here today. So my career, well, started at Regis. My degree, I got a degree in business administration and computer science, so did a double major. And I'm probably one of the few people that can say I actually use both of my majors or have used them both quite often throughout my career. I, out of college, got a job with a company called Sun Microsystems in Broomfield, Colorado.
Oh, I heard
As
about it.
yeah, you might have heard of
This
it.
company, yeah.
As a systems technologist. And so started out very much using my computer science degree, was doing software testing and writing different codes to run software scripts and tests. But then quickly moved into a bit of the kind of business side of IT. And so leveraging my business degree as well. And I was at Sun for about 12 to 13 years and doing quite a few different jobs, managed technical teams, managed big infrastructure build outs, was a business manager in terms of managing budget for different IT parts of the organization. Spent a little time in services and managing partners and vendors. And then we were acquired by Oracle. You may have heard of that one too. And they are still around and going strong. And when I worked at Oracle, I was the chief of staff for our VP, who was responsible for running all of the data centers worldwide. And so that was a really cool job to kind of get to see across the globe how different parts of the company work and operate. And then I went to work for the state of Colorado. And I was not picturing going into state government, but my boss, who I worked for at Oracle and Sun, went to the state. And within a couple of weeks of her getting there, she's like, I've got a great opportunity here. And so ended up working at the state. And it was an incredible experience, getting to learn more about government. And I was part of the governor's office of information technology. So again, leveraging both kind of an IT and business both degrees, and worked on broadband initiatives to figure out solutions to get broadband to all parts of our state, worked on economic development initiatives to promote Colorado as a top place for Colorado businesses and workers, and eventually took on the chief strategy officer role there, where helped lead the strategy development for the organization. And then ended up going to Colorado Technology Association after that and was the COO at CTA for a little over 8 years. And that was my first time in a very small company. So that was a big difference going from very large organizations to very small. And there's definitely some big differences there.
To say, excellent careers. Just the trajectory that you both have been on is pretty exciting. Can you talk a little bit about what you did learn in the classroom that maybe even today you rely on in your jobs?
Well, I guess I'll start. In this time, I don't want to look like too old, but in this time, VPN just started. That's what I wrote my thesis. And in this time, again, to get master degree in computer science, you just didn't go through exam. You have to write thesis. It was the biggest challenge for this program. It was a lot of people just drop of it because of that. And I wrote my thesis about VPN. It was completely new. Probably right now for people it's funny that, oh my God, VPN, big deal. But in this time it was very new concept, like similar to today's AI. So everybody was trying to understand how it's going to work and what it is and stuff like that. And what I learned, besides knowledge, besides like technical skills, for me it was interesting. Like I said, okay, what I need to do to write this thesis. I mean, I can go to library and write it, but it wouldn't be too relevant to the life, to the actually what's going on in the companies. So, and I start to write emails to whoever can find on, it's before LinkedIn. I don't even remember what I was using and how I found these people emails. So, and I asked them to tell me what they do as VPN, what they recommend to pay attention on. So today it's probably will be spam. But at this point, what I was surprised, some people actually responded and helped me. And so it was so heartwarming for me to learn that if you ask people for help, they actually will help. And also it's start of the point to build a network. And I learned and I talking with a lot of students since then, start to build your network very early because it gives you so many opportunities. It gives you so much learning experience to learn what other people do. And that's what I joined CTA and before, because it's bring your learning opportunity. It's bring opportunity to ask how other people do whatever they do. So it's probably, again, besides the trade knowledge, technical knowledge, the education give you some opportunity to figure out how to talk with people, how to ask for help, and how accept help and help other people.
Mm-hmm. And I totally agree, Marina, on, network, build your network and start early. And it's not when you need something, start it when you don't, when you can just go out and meet people and maybe help someone else out. But I definitely agree with you on that point. And I want to build on something you said earlier about one of the things you'd gotten with your education was learning how to work with others, right? And work, I think one of the biggest things is like working with different personality types. And in every job you're in, you're going to have to work with different types of people. And I've learned and learned through, group projects at Regis and, different times throughout my career is just how to adapt your style to get, certain points across or be able to get work done. How do you get information you need from different people? And so I think that's a very valuable skill I learned at Regis. And also just how you're your work impacts others and paying attention to that. One of the most memorable assignments I had was in a programming class at Regis, and we were given someone else's code to build on and add on to it. And that's more typical of a situation. A lot of times in programming courses, you're starting from scratch and you're building something, right? But we were given someone else's code and you had to figure out what did it do, and then how do you add on to it to add new features or functionality to it. And that was very eye-opening to me. One, the power of having documentation and making your notes in your code. But just thinking about, as you're building something or working on something, how are other people going to leverage and use this in the future? And you're not just thinking about here and now. So that was kind of another big takeaway I got from my education at Regis.
Good stories. So as I was listening to you both talk, one of the things that hit me was when I got my degrees, and we won't talk about how long ago those were, Marina.
You wouldn't, that's okay.
But when I got them, we didn't do anything group project. I mean, it was a very old style of learning where you sat in a classroom and a professor talked to you and then you spit it back out at exam time, or you'd write a paper, and that was about it. When I took my master's degree, at the end of my second year, so it was about a 2-year degree, they put us on group projects. And I was petrified because I was one of the few inexperienced students in the program. Everybody else had professional experience. When it was done, I think about it now, today, all the things I learned in working with, and in this case, they were all men. There were no women there were women in the program, but no women on the team that I was assigned to. And I saw a lot of value in it afterwards. I hated it through the entire process. So can you talk about that? Because we are trying to infuse more group activities, group work in the programs and the classes that we're offering. What do you think that brings to the students in terms of what they're going to do in their careers?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't think of a job off the top of my head. I'm sure there are jobs, but you're just completely on your own. Almost every job you are working with other people. And so getting used to, I know I'm similar to you, Sherry. There were times that, group projects, it's like, oh man, I'm gonna end up doing all the work. Or, you have those like qualms about it. Like, I don't know if I want to do a group project, but I, did learn a lot from that because that is, the typical work environment. You're working with other people. And, if it's as a team, and you're working together as a team to, work on a problem or a challenge together, or with clients, and you've got to work with them. There's a give and take there too, and getting the information you need from them to be able to solve their challenges. Working with a boss, working if you're managing, people, managing a team. There's really kind of no way around it. And so getting more comfortable with that and getting more exposure to working with different personality types, I think is really important.
For me, it was interesting. It's a little bit, I think it's more challenging than work environment. And I'll go to that. But when they say like athletes, when they prepare for big tournaments or big competition, like figure skating, they put a lot of weight. So it's to jump with this weight. And then when they go to competition, they get first place because they don't have weight, right? It's much easier. So what I see for this group education that you're talking about, it's actually even more challenging than work environment. And why? Because in work environment, you have kind of predefined structure, right? You have supervisor, subordinates. So a supervisor tell you what to do, blah, blah, blah. And you follow it's still group environment, but more structured. At university, everybody's the same. And how to navigate through all these personalities and egos And some people, you're right, Monica, they do all the jobs, and some it just kind of people get along with that. But the most, and that's how you learn, most productive teams when everybody contributes equally, in spite of anything. In spite of like, I'm better than you know, I know more, I have more experience. People kind of calm down. People realize they need to do this assignment together. They don't have choice. And let's figure it out how to do that. When you don't have predefined corporate structure, that's what I compare with athletes who have this weight and prepare for competition. That's what for me, this higher education prepares you for the corporate environment. So when you go to corporate environments, like, oh, that's piece of cake compared to all these groups, different backgrounds, different role in at their work, different egos. You need to figure it out. That's what very help us to get to the corporate world.
Yeah. I like that you brought up like the different dynamics between in a corporate world. If it's your, your boss or a subordinate that works on your team. I've had a lot of jobs where I've had to work across the organization. So when I worked at the state, I was part of the executive leadership team, and I was having to get information from all of my peers to compile and put it all together for different presentations and reporting. And that was an interesting, so similar to kind of a group project where you're working together and there isn't a reporting structure, right? Because that is, oftentimes in a corporate world, but I've had a lot of the having to work across a team and learning, how do I get this information from them? I've asked them 3 times. I need to find a new way. That's not working. How do I do this now? I've tried email. Maybe I need a text. Maybe I need it is so there are those situations too, which I've come across a lot with the types of roles that I've had where it's been pulling together a lot of information across a team.
Because you weren't their supervisor and they weren't your
Correct.
subordinates. You have
They're my
to
peers.
yeah.
And you don't want to like throw someone under the bus. I'm like, I'm going to figure out how I can get this, information from them.
Yeah. Challenging. Sounds challenging.
Those are great experiences. I worked in both environments where you were matrixed and you did have to figure out how to collaborate when nobody's in charge, and in the more hierarchical projects as well. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't do a lot of school projects, so I didn't bring those skills with me. I had to learn them on the job, and that's not always easy. So I think we've talked for a bit, and I don't want to take too much of your time. I would like to ask you, however, are there any words of wisdom you would like to leave students? And as I mentioned before, the students who are viewing this video are in both graduate and undergraduate programs, both in the computer and cyber sciences departments at the Anderson College of Business and Computing.
Monica, want to start with wisdom?
I'll start. We said one piece of advice that I'll repeat again, and that's network. Like try to say yes to as many opportunities as you can to meet new people, learn different businesses. I can't, encourage that enough to just kind of get to learn from others. But the second thing I'll say, and this one is one that didn't really hit me until later. I wish I would have figured it out, sooner, but be curious and ask good questions of people. There was this feeling when I was in college and after, especially like early in my career, I felt like I had to know everything. And I didn't want to let on if I didn't know something. I was like, I'll figure it out. I'll go figure it out on my own. But I say, ask good questions, be thoughtful, do your homework, make sure you've done your due diligence, but then ask those good probing questions. And why do certain things work the way they do? And are there better ways to do this? Think about those things. And it was something, like I said, I didn't really dig into until later in my career.
Well, I would like to start with a thing that I really applaud people who today go to university. because I go a lot of webinars and some events when some people say, well, you don't need education now. You need to be a blogger. You'll make much more money. Or like, look at Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. They didn't get education. Look, they became billionaires. Yes, but it's only two of them, or maybe three, whatever, right? And yes, some people get this big money and maybe they're super talented, maybe they're super genius, I don't know, but majority of us have different life and have different opportunity. So I applaud you that you go and study and learn at university, because it will open you a lot of doors. People appreciate, all the bosses appreciate that you spend some time of your life studying. I was studying after my, working 60 hours a week. And I was, at the office till 1 a.m. working on the assignments. But my bosses appreciate it. And when I applied to CIO jobs, they said, oh yeah, she get after work, she was working full time and she get master's degree. So people appreciate it. And the second thing that I would never tire to say and repeat, echo what Monica said, is networking. And I'll tell a very short, funny story. When I was CIO, I was working a lot, and like it was 7:30 at night, and I was sitting working on something, and my boss showed up. And my boss showed up, he was CEO of this 4,000 people company, and he said, Marina, I think you need to join some kind of professional organization. I'm just like, what? Absolutely not. I don't have time for that. I'm working here. I'm productive for the company. I'm not going to do that. And what you want me to go and drink and talk with people instead of sitting here in the office and do something for the company? So he's a very wise guy. He just left the room. He decided not to argue with me. He just left it. And I'm sitting, continue to whatever I was doing, and then I get email. Marina, I sign you up for the Society for Information Management. I pay this company credit card, and you better, tomorrow is the meeting, and you better, since we paid for that, go to the meeting. I was like, oh no. And in IT people, by definition, they're not social animals. We're not salespeople. We just like to see introverts, so leave us alone. And I just, oh no, I need to go there. So I went there. I sit there. It wasn't easy. First meeting when you don't know anybody, and people like socialize. They're just like, oh, what he involved me in. And then just fast forward, 10 years later, I told him, thank you so much that you did it for me. That the best thing that anybody did for me. First of all, I start to ask people again, oh, how do you do that? How you guys manage, access database in this time was biggest, challenge for get rid of access database. And people, how you do your network, how you hiring people, and so on and so on and so on. And now I know a lot of people in IT community in Colorado. And now I go to any meeting, I always meet somebody whom I know. It's so nice.
I was gonna say, I see Marina at almost every networking event I go to, and
Yeah,
she's always chatting with someone.
Yeah, you get to enjoying this. And so it's not easy. It's not easy. But you need to start early, and maybe you more social when you're younger. Or if you're not social, learn how to be social and push yourself out of comfort zone. So networking open a lot of doors for you on the top of university degree.
Mm-hmm. And I'll add one thing to your networking comment, because you're just talking about people who aren't comfortable with it, right? And
Yeah.
there's times I'm like going into an event and I'm like, I don't know if I know anyone here, and it's
Yeah.
can be a little intimidating. But advice I've heard from people over the years is, it goes back to the curiosity. Ask people questions. People love to talk about themselves and want to share things about what they do for a living and those kind of things. So if you're uncomfortable, it's there's probably a whole bunch of other people that are not so comfortable with it
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. And just start asking people questions, and you'll quickly figure out a way to navigate those situations.
Yeah.
Oh, those are great stories. Thank you. Thank you very much.